The Secrets of the Khan's Barber. Folktales from Tibet, circa 1922. Collected by Eleanor Jewett. Public domain reading. The Secret of the Khan's Barber. There lived in the east a mighty Khan. He had broad, fertile lands to rule over, and many thousands of faithful subjects. But though he governed wisely and well, the country was filled with discontent, and for a very good reason. Never did the Khan permit himself to be seen by his people, and he even obliged his courtiers and advisers to address him from behind the tapestries, and never allowed any of them to look upon his face. And this was not the worst by any means. Every once and so often, a youth was chosen from among the people, and was taken to the palace, where he was dressed in gorgeous attire, and then led into the presence of the Khan. There he was bidden to act as barber, and cut the monarch's hair. And after he had done so, he invariably disappeared and was never heard or seen of again. Of course, it was easy to guess that he had been put to death. Needless to say, the fathers and mothers of young men lived in constant dread and hated the Khan with all of their hearts. Yet they had no power to withstand his orders. Now it happened one day that the Khan's messenger stopped at the house of a widow who had only one child, a fine, handsome lad, whom she loved better than life itself. It had fallen to the lot of this youth, Daibang by name, to be the Khan's barber on the following day. But when the widow heard the news, instead of vainly weeping and complaining as others had done, she went at once to her kitchen, for she had devised a plan whereby her son might yet be saved. With great care she baked some little cakes of rice flour and milk, very light and fine, and tempting to look upon, and into them she kneaded the great love that filled her heart for her son. Then calling him to her, she said, "Daibang, on the morrow you must go to the palace to cut the Khan's hair, and after that what fate may befall you we may not know, but we can very well guess. Then do exactly as I bid you, and my heart tells me you will escape the hard lot that has come to so many others. Take with you these cakes which I have baked for you with loving care, and while you are performing your duty to the Khan, manage to eat one of them so that he will see you do it. He will then ask to taste one himself, and when he has eaten of it, he will wish to know what it is made of. Tell him that your mother made these cakes of rice, flour, and milk, and that she kneaded into them her love and prayers for you. After that, I think he will not find it in his heart to take your life." Daibang accepted the cakes gratefully and kissed his mother, and when the time came for him to go to the palace, he set forth with a light heart and high courage. Having arrived there, he was taken at once by servants and clad in rich clothing, and then led into the presence of the Khan. With comb and scissors of pure gold, he dressed and cut the monarch's hair, and as he looked at him, he learned the Khan's secret, and why it was that he allowed no one to look upon him and live. And Daibang's mind was filled with wonder. Nevertheless, he did not forget his mother's commands, and managed to eat one of her cakes while he was combing through the royal hair. "What are you eating?" asked the Khan, and Daibang spread out his mother's cakes before him. They looked extremely good, and the monarch at once demanded one to eat. They tasted even better than they looked, and all the rest of the time Daibang was working over him, the great Khan sat munching the cakes with evident enjoyment. "Good youth," said he at length, "tell me what these are made of, for I must have my royal cook learn the art and bake me such goodly cakes daily. Never have I tasted anything better." "Sire," replied Daibang, "these are very simple cakes. They are made of rice, flour, and milk. My mother baked them and kneaded into them her love and prayers for me, her only child." After that the Khan remained silent for a long time. When at last Daibang had finished his work and begged leave to retire, the Khan turned and looking steadfastly at him said, "Young man, the love that your mother kneaded into those cakes has entered my very soul, and I cannot bring myself to give the order for your execution as I have done these times, many times with lads similar to you. Nevertheless, you have learned my secret, and for that reason you should die, for I trust no man on earth, nor any woman either, to keep a secret entirely locked up in his own mind." Daibang bowed low, but said nothing. After a moment the Khan continued, "In truth, lad, my love for you grows, and I am minded even to trust your word and let you live. Will you promise by your mother's love, and by all else in this world that you consider holy, not to breathe to any man or any woman the secret concerning me that you have learned this day? And will you promise also to tell no one in what manner your life was spared?" Solemnly and in all true faith, Daibang knelt down and promised to keep steadfastly these two things as long as he lived. With that he was dismissed, and servants were ordered to load him with presents and conduct him home. Great was the wonder of the people in the village when they learned that Daibang had returned unharmed from the palace, after having acted as the Khan's barber. They came in crowds to the widow's cottage and demanded eagerly how it was that he had escaped, and what was the Khan's great secret anyway. That he should refuse at any time to be seen by his people, or to let those live who had once set eyes upon him. But to all their questions and wonderings, Daibang never said a word. That night his mother too besought him to tell her just how he had fared and about the Khan's secret, but he only said to her, "Mother mine, ask me no more. Your cakes work the loving magic you foretold, and I have escaped death. But I have given my word of honor that I will tell no human being, not even my dear and faithful mother, the secret I learned while I was cutting the Khan's hair." So the days and weeks and months passed by, and still every once in so often a fine young man would be chosen from among the people and taken to the palace to trim the Khan's hair, after which he would be put to death. Not one escaped as Daibang had done, and still the people came to the widow's cottage and entreated Daibang to tell them the monarch's secret. Now he was tender-hearted and a willing youth, and he yearned most earnestly to break his promise, more especially when mothers and fathers besought him with tears and prayers to tell them how he had been spared so that their sons might live also. At length, so great was the strain of the secret of his mind and heart that Daibang grew very ill. Doctors came to him from all parts of the country, and his mother nursed him with tender care, day and night, yet steadily he grew worse and worse. "The lad will die," the doctor said to his mother. "He will surely die unless he breathes forth the secret that is resting so heavily upon his mind." But Daibang remained faithful. "I have promised," said he, "by my mother's love and by all else that I call holy, to tell my secret to no living being, and I will die rather than break my word." So the doctors all departed, saying that there was nothing further that could be done. That night the widow devised a plan. Sitting beside her son as he lay restless and tossing on his bed, she said, "Daibang, my child, hearken to me that you may live and not die. I have a plan whereby you may keep your promise to the Khan and yet rid your soul of its heavy secret. Take courage, hasten and get strong, then go forth alone into the far desert place. There find a hole in the ground or a crevice or a rock, and when you have put your lips down close, speak out the whole matter that is weighing upon your heart. So shall you keep your promise and yet find relief for your soul and live." This advice seemed good to Daibang, and so encouraged was he by the hope of ridding himself of his secret, that he straightway began to mend. In a short time he had recovered strength enough to start forth and carry out the suggestion of his mother. He traveled many miles from home and came at length to a desert place full of rocks and sand, far from every sign of human dwelling. And in the middle of this wasteland, he found a deep dark hole. Kneeling upon the ground, Daibang put his lips close to this hole and whispered all of his secret. 3 times he told the secret, and then he arose, feeling light-hearted again and well in body and mind. Now it happened that in this hole lived a marmot, a very old and clever marmot, and he had heard and understood Daibang's words, and knew it was the great Khan's secret he was telling. Being an idle, gossipy fellow, he repeated it all to his friend Echo, and as his friend Echo always repeated everything he heard, whether secret or otherwise, he soon told the wind, and the wind bore the Khan's secret far and wide all over the land, and back at last into the palace garden, where the Khan himself was sitting. When the monarch heard the wind whispering about his secret, he was filled with rage. "Truly," he said to himself, "the whole world must be talking about my secret if even the wind bandies it about. I did wrong to spare the life of that fellow Daibang, and tomorrow before sunrise he shall die." So it came about that Daibang was arrested that very day and dragged to the palace by rough soldiers. He was thrust at once into the private council room, and there found himself alone with the angry Khan. "Did I not say that no man on earth could keep a secret faithfully?" he cried sternly to the lad. "And you, though I loved and believed in you, have betrayed your trust for the very wind that plays in my garden. The wind is whispering that which none but you could tell. Speak now, if you have aught to say in self-defense, for tomorrow at daybreak you shall die." Daibang had been frightened and confused by the rough handling of the soldiers, but now, hearing of what he was accused and knowing that he had done no wrong, he took courage and told the Khan honestly and without restraint all that he had done. "Indeed, sire," said he at the end, "no human being knows your secret even now, and it was only to save my life, because of the prayers of my mother, that I spoke it into a hole in a desert place." The Khan was touched by this story. His anger vanished, and he felt again the love in his heart for the faithful lad, which he had felt first when he had eaten one of his mother's cakes. They talked a long time together, and the end of it all was that Daibang was made the Khan's chief counselor, and he and his mother lived thereafter in a high state of luxury at the royal palace. You may be sure Daibang and his clever mother were not long in devising a way of hiding the Khan's secret, so that he could go abroad among his people like other kings, and never again was a young man chosen to cut the Khan's hair, and afterward to be put to death. That service Daibang kept for himself, and remained the Lord High Royal Barber to the end of his days. But what was the Khan's secret? Demanded the prince, when the Siddhi Kur had finished his tale. Oh, that, said the Siddhi Kur. It was very simple. Haven't you guessed it yet? The Khan had ears that were large and pointed like the ears of an ass, and he was frightfully ashamed of these donkey-like ears. But the widow made him a tall velvety cap with lappets that came down over them, and after that he felt perfectly comfortable about himself. Of course, such caps became the style in the kingdom, and I believe they are worn in the East in court circles this very day. But I have tarried long enough. My heart yearns again for my mango tree in the cool grove beside the garden of ghost children. Farewell, O prince, since you have again broken silence on the homeward way. You have no longer any power to hold me. The shame and remorse of the prince at having failed again were pitiful to see. But knowing that tears and self-accusation were of no avail, he turned around and set off at a smart pace after the disappearing form of the Siddhi Kur. I have a story in mind, said the Siddhi Kur, as he journeyed once more in the magic sack on the back of the prince toward the cave of the master, Nagarjuna. A very ancient story of a king's son as faithful and wise as yourself, my friend. Come now, would you like me to tell it? The prince nodded his head, resolving within himself that on no account whatever that he would open his lips this time to comment on the story. And so the Siddhi Kur began the next story. If you would like to hear this next story, please subscribe to this channel, share this video and give it a like, give a comment as well if possible, and support this channel any way possible. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.